Episode 7 of the gritty Paramount Plus crime drama MobLand saw the Stevensons begin to even the score against the Harrigans in the budding gang war. At the end of episode 6, Brendan and Seraphina Harrigan were left with an uncertain fate, as the business deal they were executing in Antwerp, Belgium, was interrupted by a group of gunmen who slaughtered everyone except for the two of them. Episode 7 revealed that while they survived the initial attack, they were kidnapped by the gunmen and transported overseas with an even worse consequence. As Harry races against the clock to locate Brendan and Seraphina, they are moved from Antwerp to Amsterdam, and find themselves tied up in a warehouse belonging to the Mexican cartel, another entity that operates in the London drug trade alongside the Harrigans and Stevensons. Unfortunately, they snatched the wayward Harrigans on behalf of Richie Stevenson, and a video camera was set up so that the Harrigans in the Cotswolds could watch their execution. Brendan is killed in gruesome fashion before a mysterious phone call to the cartel's leader spares Seraphina, leaving Richie befuddled, who Harry calls to save Seraphina. She goes by the name Kat. Harry was on his way to the warehouse where Brendan and Seraphina were being kept, but when Kevin called him with an update about what was happening to them, Harry called Donnie, the mysterious man who had shown up twice at Zosia's garage looking for Harry in earlier episodes. He has Donnie connect him with a woman only identified as Kat, who picks up the phone on a lavish private jet. Based on their conversation, she and Harry have a history together, although its nature is left uncertain due to the exchange's brevity. Kat is almost certain to become a major player in the near future, as she apparently has sufficient power and authority to literally disintegrate the relationship between Richie and the cartel with a 10-second phone call. Anybody who the cartels obey is not to be trifled with, and based on the luxury of her private jet, she could be a next-level billionaire or perhaps an extremely high-ranking government official of some kind. She makes a special note that Harry owes her a favor now, which doesn't sound like it will work out well for him based on context. How Harry tracks down Brendan and Seraphina. He was engaged in a race against the clock. Harry Harrigan, Tom Hardy, getting on his motorcycle in MobLand Season 1, Episode 7. A large portion of the episode is spent following Harry as he attempts to track down Brendan and Seraphina, which naturally elevates the action for the episode. After identifying a Moroccan gang as the kidnappers at the scene of their kidnapping, Harry heads to the Antwerp docks where he knows the gang operates to confront them. One runs, and Harry pursues him by motorcycle to get the name and location of his boss. That sends him on a one-man rampage through a warehouse drug operation operated by the Moroccans out of the ports and, as Harry often does, leaves a pile of bodies behind him. The gang boss, somewhat coincidentally, given that Harry chucked a grenade in his direction, survives, giving Harry the opportunity to press him about the location of Brendan and Seraphina. He sets off immediately, but as mentioned, he doesn't make it to them in time. Who Jamie Lopez is and why he hates Conrad Harrigan. The cartel boss is more than willing to assist Richie. Pierce Brosnan as Conrad Harrigan in MobLand. Brendan and Seraphina wind up in the clutches of Jamie Lopez, a leader of the as-yet unnamed Mexican cartel that is part of the drug trade in London as well as across Europe. Knowing he wouldn't be able to get to them in time all the way in Antwerp, Richie outsourced the murder of the two Harrigans to Lopez, who outsourced the kidnapping to the Moroccans given their proximity. Lopez is more than willing to cooperate thanks to an offense that Conrad gave to his father 30 years earlier. Lopez repeats the unimaginable slur to Brendan and Seraphina to explain his involvement in their kidnap and murder. In true cartel and Richie Stevens-Ion fashion, it isn't enough to just put a bullet in their heads and dump their bodies. Lopez sets up a live stream of the two in their chairs, and has one of his associates fire up a chainsaw, simultaneously representing his long-gestating hatred for the Harrigans and Rich's now maniacal desire for vengeance after the murders of both his son and wife. Brendan is butchered, but Kat calls Lopez and stops him before Seraphine is killed. Why Jan is in bigger trouble than ever before. She may be in Maeve's crosshairs now. Joanne Froggatt as Jan D.A. Souza and Tom Hardy as Harry D.A. Souza in MobLand. It's obvious now that Maeve has been the rat in the Harrigan crime organization all along, and the noose is beginning to close around her. She almost gets caught by Conrad in episode 7, as she claims Richie texted her saying that he had Brendan and Seraphina when in reality she told him where he could find them both. When Conrad asks her to show him the text, she plays coy and makes a stink about him not trusting her before they're interrupted by Kevin. With Maeve now seeking a way out, Jan is in serious trouble. Conrad had suspected, with Maeve's encouragement, that Jan had been the rat leaking information from the Harrigans. He's gone so far as to intimidate her about it in her own home, and in episode 7 he has Paul follow her to a pub where she's meeting Alice, who is an informant for DS Fisk. Paul overhears Jan talking about killers and gangsters, leading him to believe she is talking about the Harrigans' business to someone she barely knows, likely suspicious that Alice is in fact an informant. Maeve had been aware all along of Conrad's actions, further reinforcing that Paul is her toady, not Conrad's, so she knows that suspicions about Jan are already high. With her now seeking to throw the scent off herself as the rat, it seems all but certain that Jan is who Maeve will point the finger at. Jan's fate now seems sealed unless Harry manages to intervene or further proof against Maeve comes to light. If something does happen to Jan, it could be the impetus that Harry needs to switch sides and work with Richie against the Harrigans.